Rodney Fuller knows how to tear up the road and fix a broken water main. He's a senior crew coordinator with City County Utilities Construction and Maintenance. But what he doesn't know how to do is convince landlords to rent to him.
Most times they throw their hands up and say, I just, as a practice, don't deal with convicted felons.
In 1993 and in 2001, Fuller was convicted of 2 different felonies. In total, he served about 6 years in prison. Since his 2003 release, Fuller says most landlords have turned him down, forcing him to live with family or friends, or in neighborhoods plagued by crime, drug use, shootings, and fights.
It's been roughly 13 years since I've been free and clear of any charges or convictions. I'm still being punished for the crimes that I've supposedly been paid my debt to society for.
As of March 2016, more than 23,600 men and women have been released from North Carolina's state prisons, most needing a home. I spoke with a number of landlords about renting to ex-offenders, but all declined to go on camera for this story. However, off camera, they did explain some of their hesitations. In the case of an apartment complex, some fear other residents will move out if they find out their neighbor is an ex-offender. Other landlords fear that ex-offenders will attract illegal activity, a risk they're not willing to take.
Recently, the federal agency Housing and Urban Development released new guidelines urging landlords to not solely base their rental decisions on a person's criminal history. It states, a policy or practice that denies housing to anyone with a prior arrest cannot be justified, and therefore such a practice would violate the Fair Housing Act. The same guidelines apply to convicted felons.
Have some type of criminal background.
Adolfo Briceño handles housing disputes for the city of Winston-Salem. He says under the new guidelines, ex-felons will be able to file housing discrimination complaints, a right they've never had.
If a provider denies housing on a person just because he has an arrest an arrest in his record, that is going to be considered discriminatory. If the person has a conviction, which means he was arrested and then convicted, that also will be considered discriminatory on its face.
However, a landlord can reject
those who are accused or convicted of manufacturing or distributing illegal substances. Those will still be denied housing, and they will not be able to come here and present a complaint.
Everybody, you know. And we encourage that they all sit at the table and eat together and become a family.
Harold Smith helps male ex-offenders transition back into society through his Winston-Salem nonprofit, Eureka House. He says fewer than 20 apartment complexes in the city will rent to this population, and Smith argues taxpayers ultimately pay for these housing barriers.
You pay for it by housing them in prison, you pay for it by a loss of taxes, and you pay for it by an individual not being home with his family, not raising his children, not being there.
Fuller hopes HUD's new guidelines will open a door to a 3-bedroom home in a safe environment where he can raise his 11-year-old son and his 9-year-old daughter.
I want them to be able to come out and just relax or play or just be free to be a kid and not just see people fighting or somebody just sitting there drinking or doing dope deals and stuff like that.
Meanwhile, his plea to landlords: turn a blind eye to his past and focus on who he is today.
A person that's paid their debts to society, that's paying taxes, that's a voter, that's a caring parent, a provider for his family, a hard worker. Why discriminate against me any further? Give me a chance.
Catherine Mobley, WSTV Digital Media.